Who really owns and controls Venezuela's oil? After January 3rd, 2026, darkness, silence. Then a single decision that shattered a nation's promise forever. On January 3rd, 2026, a U.S. Special Operations Unit struck deep into Caracas. The leader of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, was captured, gone, removed, almost vanished into history. That moment didn't just topple a president. It fractured the world's largest oil reserve, the prize beneath the Orinoco, and thrust it into the hands of new masters. But who actually owns and runs the oil now? Nobody told you the real story, because what's at stake isn't just barrels of crude. It's power, influence. What comes next for global energy? The capture that changed everything. The city was quiet, too quiet. Cameras capture U.S. helicopters slicing across the Venezuelan skyline. A brief raid, one target, one capture. No one expected it. Not Maduro, not Caracas. But the world watched, because that raid didn't just remove a leader. It opened the vault to Venezuela's oil, and for decades that oil was a myth, a buried treasure, untouched, a promise unfulfilled, room for wealth that could reshape nations, except production was dying, and the world didn't know why. Why this matters now. The Orinoco Belt holds about 303 billion barrels of heavy crude, the largest proven reserves on Earth. Yet, today, asphalt-thick crude trickles out around 1.1 million barrels per day, a fraction of Venezuela's past. Compare that to the 1970s, when Venezuela pumped more than 3.5 million barrels per day, and you see a collapse, not a boom. Why? Mismanagement, sanctions, political chaos. A state oil company, PDVSA, that once powered a nation is now on life support. And yet, everyone still wants control. How Venezuela lost its oil. In the 1970s, Venezuela nationalized its oil, stripping foreign energy giants of real control. PDVSA became the owner and the operator. Foreign majors vanished or were forced into minority roles. Only a few stayed: Chevron, Rosneft, CNPC. Others tried to hang on: Exxon, Repsol, BP. But most walked away, owed billions in compensation. And that should have made Venezuela untouchable. A giant buried underground. But it didn't work out that way. Instead, decades of underinvestment crumbled pipelines, crippled refineries, and made oil production almost too expensive to sustain. The real reason big powers want. Here's where it gets worse. When the U.S. seized Maduro, and with him de facto control of the government, they didn't say it in polite terms. They said they are now in charge of Venezuela's oil industry. Not allied partners, not joint ventures, in charge. The administration's plan? Control the oil indefinitely, sell off cargoes trapped by sanctions, seize tankers in the Caribbean, redirect Venezuela's crude to U.S. refineries. Suddenly Chevron, the only major U.S. firm still operating there, is in talks with Washington to expand its license even further. Chevron's name now looms larger in this story than ever before. But here's the twist. Chevron doesn't own Venezuela's oil. PDVSA did. But PDVSA has no real power now, and international companies operate only under sweeping American authorizations or restrictions. So who is in charge now? It's no longer a Venezuelan state. It's a power structure, with layers we're just starting to unravel. 4 pillars of control. Let's break this down. 1. The state company, PDVSA, princes of the past, owners of reserves on paper. Today, paralyzed, cash-strapped, and locked out of markets by sanctions and operational collapse. 2. The United States government. Not a silent partner, not a client, now a gatekeeper, deciding who can export oil, who can buy it, and under what conditions. 3. Chevron and private operators. Chevron alone among U.S. majors kept its foothold. Exports continue, but under tight supervision and legal limbo. The oil isn't owned by Chevron, but Chevron runs much of what flows today. 4. New strategic players. Trading houses companies like Vitol are quietly negotiating special licenses to handle Venezuelan crude imports and exports. This means that private traders, and not governments or locals, could become the middlemen of global access to Venezuela's oil. Control by influence, not ownership. And it gets worse, because these are not peaceful commercial decisions. They are strategic moves in a global game. Turkey, Russia, China, all watching. Russia is angrily condemning U.S. tanker seizures as unlawful. China, Venezuela's biggest customer over the past decade, has lost nearly all imports due to sanctions and blockades. Now India, a rising refining powerhouse, is publicly considering buying Venezuelan crude again, pending regulatory access. This means a new battleground, not only for energy, but for alliances, for currency dominance, for geopolitical leverage. Who gets first access, who gets profit, and who ends up with nothing? This isn't business, it's strategic power, ownership versus control. Let's be clear. Ownership, the legal definition, still nominally belongs to Venezuela and PDVSA. Control, the practical reality, belongs to a U.S.-led framework that dictates who can touch the oil. That's the real shock. A nation with the world's biggest oil reserves exists, but it doesn't control them, not technologically, not financially, not legally, and now, not politically. And here's the unresolved heart of the story. If the oil isn't producing at scale, and the infrastructure is collapsing, then who will actually benefit? The Venezuelan people? Or the entities that manage to extract value while keeping local power weak? No one knows. Winners and losers. On paper, the U.S. claims victory. It says it will sell Venezuelan crude to U.S. refineries. It says proceeds will benefit reconstruction and humanitarian aid. But look deeper. Chevron's stock jumped. Trading houses are queuing up. Asian refineries are reconsidering Venezuela. PDVSA is negotiating terms with Washington. China and Russia watch from the side. They have lost preferential access. For now, that shift will echo far beyond Caracas. The looming question. So ask this. If a nation's oil is still owned by the nation, but run by foreign companies, controlled by foreign governments, and traded by global commodities giants, who really owns it? Who really runs it? And who decides its future? The answer isn't simple. It's not black or white. It's buried beneath political maneuvering, strategic leverage, and decades of global power plays. And right now, the next chapter is just beginning. What happens when the oil starts flowing again? Who will be left standing?